In problem-based learning, students work in smaller or larger groups to solve a problem or to offer different perspectives on a case. It's an excellent choice of method if you want to introduce your students to an authentic learning environment, such as a workplace, or relevant questions that might arise during work or during a practice period, for example. Needless to say, this is an excellent teaching method if you want your students to enhance their social skills, such as communicating and collaborating. The students need to be flexible and adapt to the decisions of a group, but they also need to manage their own time and take responsibility for their part. Problem-solving skills are among other learning goals that can be included in a course where problem-based learning is the method. Problem-based learning is based on constructivist principles of learning, which means that the student is supposed to be active and self-directed as a learner. But this is also the problem with problem-based learning, because a lot of students find this difficult and they don't necessarily learn a lot of cognitive skills during a problem-based learning process. As a teacher, you need to facilitate the students' learning and make sure that every group gets started on their case or their problem, and that you support them if there are problems within the group. And these are usually difficult problems to solve if there is bullying involved, or if students simply do not get along and they don't see why they should work together on a case or on a problem. And not every student enjoys group work. So this is something to consider if you want to choose problem-based learning as your method. I tried problem-based learning in the teacher education, and I divided my primary school teacher students into groups of 10 people, and I asked them to prepare a presentation for a parent-teacher meeting. I did this because students don't always realize that teaching doesn't only include working in your own classroom. It also means collaborating with your fellow colleagues and communicating with parents. I asked the groups to open a web-based document and share it with me, and I also asked them to clearly specify who wrote what. Even though this was a joint presentation, I still felt it was important for me to follow the process of the individual student, since they get individual grades. I also suggested 2 group leaders in every group. That later could be changed by the group members if they so wanted. I did this because usually during group work, a lot of time goes into deciding who is a leader. Sometimes no one wants to be the leader, and sometimes everyone wants to be the leader. And let's face it, at a workplace, we have a leader. At a school, there's a principal. At other workplaces, there's a boss of some kind. We had seminars regularly where we discussed course literature and questions relating to that, but it was also a way to check on the progress of the groups and make sure that everyone was on board. I invited people from within and outside the university to give lectures on the topics of the course. This was again a way to structure the coursework for the individual student and offer different perspectives on teaching in a multicultural classroom. When assessing the students' learning, I looked at their individual activity during seminars and on Twitter and in the web-based document. But I also asked the students to reflect upon their own work during this course and the work of their group members. I also asked the students to rate each other's presentations, and we had a discussion after each presentation where we highlighted strengths but also weaknesses in the presentation. Since these were teacher students, I felt it was important that they were part of also the assessment process and that they started reflecting on how you can assess group work such as this. All in all, I was happy with the course and my workload during it, and the students seemed satisfied with what they had learned and experienced during the course later on in evaluations. But through the individual reflections, it became apparent that one group did struggle with collaboration. And when reflecting on this course now, I think I would be more sensitive to problems that probably were apparent early on during the course, and I would take time to support this group especially